So Julian, as we know, time doesn't stand still in football, moves very quickly. We're coming into the second week since Matt departed for Rotherham. I guess, can you just fill in the fans on how the process has been? You know, we try and be as transparent as we can. I know it's quite a difficult situation to speak about, but how's it gone so far?
Sure. I mean, lots of people have asked, the first instance, was it a surprise? Well, of course, it's a surprise when it comes, but it's not a surprise to anybody. I think, fans, staff alike, and, players, etc., that at some stage, the success that he brought to the club and the way he conducted himself, that was going to happen at some point. But so not a shock in that sense, but a shock in the sense that, that when it actually happened, and you always are trying to prepare for that all the time, but you're never quite ready for it. I think the other thing that's very, very relevant is over the past 20 years, I think we've had 4 managers, but at each stage and phase, the club's been in a very, very different position, and so the process that we're going through now is also different. Matt last time round had been almost nurtured through from player to academy to assistant to and very much the same with the boot room. Now, of course, as people are aware, some of the boot room have gone, and doing everything we can to hold on to as many as possible. But I think that, interestingly, that the club is renowned for developing players, but you don't have to look very far to see how many people from Exeter City that are in not in jobs in your world, for instance, in the media world, have gone on to bigger things, and that, and the boot room is the same, and we should expect that. But that's life in the pecking order that we're in. In terms of the actual process itself, very, very rigorous, I would say. Doesn't mean to say that it's particularly less difficult, because it's difficult. Some very, very good candidates, and the difficulty now is, of course, working out all the different levels. And the way that I've always described it is that it's really, we're not interviewing Mourinho, and even he will have, people will say there's problems, but we will have a situation where somebody's very, very strong academy wise, somebody is less strong perhaps in terms of having experience in our league and other leagues. So there's a mix of candidates that have experiences in other ways. So that makes it a very, very difficult, you doing it for tomorrow, or you're doing it for the next 5 years, and that makes the whole process difficult. But I think the way it's been organised and the way that we're going about it, and everybody wants to do it tomorrow, and me also. I mean, we're going back to Matt. I think the announcement was made with Paul on the Friday morning, and we appointed on the Friday afternoon. Well, clearly that's not going to happen this time. So we do want to do it as quickly as possible. But I think the most important thing is to take the maximum amount of time that it takes to make his best decision possible. So that's what we're trying to do.
And have you got eyes on a sort of time scale here, or is it very much make sure you speak to the right people and assess what we really need?
Well, yes, there is a time scale, of course. Yeah, there is. There is what we're aiming at. But what we've decided is that if we have to go back, revisit, take longer, re-interview, whatever that would take, that's probably more important than actually getting to the point where here is the deadline, we must do something by then. So that's the way that we're going to proceed.
And as you say, we're quite a unique club when it comes to her search for a manager. It's not just someone that's going to take the first team. They have to be very heavily involved in the youth aspect and get an understanding of the kind of community club that we are as well.
It's a good question, but there's two sides. So it's not only the youth side, but also the community side. And I think there's good candidates, and I think those candidates have been attracted because of the nature of this club, because of the way they see. I have to say, the way they see, the fans understand who we are, what we are. We'd like to do everything a lot faster. We all know there's nobody going to with a checkbook here, and so everything does take longer. But it's very, very solid. And I think some of the candidates from outside, in fact, all of them, there's no doubt that they recognise that, and that may be a strength in terms of attracting those candidates to this club. So, everybody, from the ownership, the trust, right the way through to the fans have played a part in that.
The club's probably in such one of its most attractive periods in the sense of new development of the training ground, promotion last year, good start to league life. not too bad on the finances and everything. So it must be quite an attractive proposition for a manager out there.
I mean, listen, this is off-piste in a way, because this is almost outside the interview, but in any situation, when you pick up something that's going pretty well, that's a tough place to be. When you pick up something that's a disaster area, it's a win-win. So from our point of view, the club's in really good shape. You look at the stand across the way, that's one thing. You look at what's happening at the 3G not that long ago has made a huge difference. The training ground, Chaz has got that looking immaculate, as is the pitch. Across the board, behind the scenes in the club, the people behind the scenes downstairs here and out there, we've this look back sometimes. My day, often with the staff, we'd say, all these things to overcome, and they look back and see what you've achieved. And sometimes when you look back, it's unbelievable, and it just goes to show that if you have a mindset to achieve something, it can be done. It might take a bit of time, but I don't think we've on all the objectives and ambitions, we haven't failed yet. So there'll be new ones coming, and that's what I enjoy, and I don't think I'm the only one.
And we're sat here 90 minutes before we take on Oxford today, under the stewardship of Kevin and John, who, I have to say, have done a cracking job, because it's not been easy, has it? Taking over from Matt and just stepping straight in. That
was a real worry when you see something like that. Okay, your mind immediately goes, never mind what's going on with, what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do in the next 2 hours, what we're going to do. And they really have, they've picked everything up. But I would not only, as you say, give them the praise for that, but also, across the board, there isn't a person in this organisation, inside or out, that hasn't actually stepped up. I mean, as one example, the training ground with all this going on. Let's not talk about the injuries, that's for another time. But also now, all of a sudden, the training ground is out of action for 3 days. Well, that's a sort of massive blow. Your whole work area just suddenly has disappeared on you. So they've overcome some quite significant and considerable problems, not only in consistency, but as I'm sure you're aware, I speak to the players, and when you speak to them, it's been good, it's been consistent, it's been steady. So I can't thank them, the fans as a whole, but the staff particularly, and the players, and the people at the top in the boot room and the button. And as you say, Kevin and John have done a phenomenal job in keeping us on an even keel in a very critical time of the season.
Well, I think you touched on it there. The players are such a strong outfit, aren't they? They're so well bonded that they've taken the news really well, and they've just kind of got on with their business and supported Kevin and everyone else as much as they needed.
Absolutely, and that's one of the fears. You think, how is this going to affect what's going to happen? And it's not the case. That's they're a close-knit unit in that sense. I would imagine that some have seen this before. They've been in this situation, and they've all got careers to look after. But in terms of how they've reacted to it, I have not heard one moan or discontent other than, and when you go out there, they're focused on what the club wants them to do. Let's hope that works out today.
I mean, and just finally on the supporters, they've backed us terrifically so far this season, carrying on from last season. I think we must be well over the average fans we had this 10 years ago when we were in League One. So it just shows, how much they've bought into what the club's trying to achieve.
I'll say it out loud. It's really important to say when you're wrong or when you see something. But the Project 6000, I thought, we've tried, but of course, promotion helps that, where there's new teams coming in, etc. But those people, they will enjoy coming, they will come again. We're trying to produce everything we can, both on and off the field. We're trying to improve. Whether we're going to take the league by storm, that's probably not going to happen at this point, but it just shows that there's growth there, and to see that number turning up week in, week out. Of course, we've had some good away support, but that's a lot, 6,000 plus of our own. For the people behind the scenes that are working so hard, that's and they're doing a great job commercial-wise and social media-wise, etc. But when you see that makes you think, okay, we got a real chance of doing something and going somewhere, and we can keep building on that. Then the things that take us a long time may not take us quite so long.
Perfect. There we go. I think that's good.